Hey everybody,
Hey everybody.
Hey everybody!
and welcome back to King of the Bean. We have me finally reigning after some amount of time.
Yep.
And it is I, Josh, and with me I have Ian
Hey.
and Ryan.
Hey!
On today's podcast, we are finally getting hit by the snooze of food.
We're tired.
A little tired. So we're going to talk about something simple.
Yeah, we had breakfast, we got loopy, and now we're here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about something very casual.
But high energy and engaging, Lee.
Yo! Krakatoa. Yeah.
Crack my toe.
I'll
Nah,
crack
I'd rather
your toe.
No. But we're going to talk about something very, very casual, like, maybe, who knows, we'll see. But let's talk about cartoons.
Okay.
Like the olden time cartoons that we used to watch, which were, like, darker in a lot of things.
Okay.
We had, like, Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Classic.
Classic.
I was too scared to watch it most of the time.
Were you actually?
Yeah, we didn't watch it a lot until we got a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
How much is a little bit older?
I don't remember. Teenagers?
Really?
Really?
I remember watching that when I was like 7 or whatever.
Well, because I remember it usually came on really late and it was bedtime anyway.
Yeah.
Did it? I guess it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it did. Yeah. Do you guys actually have cable, or do you guys have like the black box?
Cable.
Okay. We were poor, so we had black box.
I don't know what that means.
But the black box basically gives you all the channels without having to pay for it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Pirated TV.
Kind of, yeah.
Mm.
It was all the rage back in the day. I don't know if they have something like that nowadays, though.
I'm sure they have something.
Probably. Right, I used to have that because that's how I watched my Cartoon Network, my Nickelodeons, my Disney channels.
Those were the
big
three
three.
channels.
They had
Big three.
Big track.
Some people told me they didn't even have Cartoon Network or they just had Disney Channel.
It's weird because I feel like that's a package deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Right? They're
But
all-
like, cause I've talked to some people recently, cause I'm like, oh, did you watch this? And they're just like, no, I was a Disney Channel kid. That's all we had. And I'm like, are you sure? Maybe that's just all your parents showed you.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't even remember a lot of. I feel like Cartoon Network was obviously the big one with a lot of cartoons.
And like
It's in the name.
Eddie.
Yeah, I loved it.
Codename Kids Next Door.
Classics.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, all classics.
Samurai Jack.
Oh, Samurai Jack.
Samurai Jack was
Yeah.
awesome.
They brought that back.
I know.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
That's what I heard. Never saw it.
It was pretty good. I would recommend watching it. But I just remember like watching all those shows and being like, wow, this is so cool and action packed and whatever. It spoke to me as a kid, and I'm like looking at a lot of shows nowadays, a lot of kid shows nowadays, and I'm just like, I don't know if it's less engaging.
It's all about friendship and magic.
It's not even that sometimes. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're like goofy just for the sake of being goofy,
Yeah.
which I guess is fine, but like. Well, cause like, sure you have your comedy cartoons, like Ed and Eddy. Ed and Eddy, pure comedy for
That
the
was
most part.
violent.
It had violent moments, didn't it too?
It was very violent.
But that was our comedy back in the day, essentially. And nowadays it's like a lot of like everything goes fast paced. Everything's like in your face. Like Teen Titans Go, that's a big one. Everything's just in your face. So everything's going really fast paced.
It's like, let's talk about Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go for a second.
Right.
Because we all saw the original Teen Titans.
Yeah, classic.
And we all
Yeah, when
loved
there's
it.
trouble, you know who to call.
Yeah.
Teen Titans, yeah.
Teen Titans.
With the Hi Puffy Yummy Yumi
Yeah.
singing the theme song.
And that
classic.
show was really good. And that was a kid's show.
Yeah.
But it wasn't made for kids, quote
I
unquote.
feel like it was more made for like teenagers.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
But it was still accessible to children, and they still had a lot of comedy
Action.
moments and a lot of like gags and stuff, because it was very anime in the way it was inspired by, right? They
Yeah.
did a lot of similar anime gags. Same with Avatar: Last Airbender. We could talk about that too. But it wasn't made for kids, right? It was made for everyone, and it was toned down, right? Like it wasn't too violent. There wasn't like blood.
It was
gore.
accessible to everyone.
It was accessible to everyone, but it was quality, right? There was something for everyone. It touched on thematically adult themes sometimes, and like it took itself seriously. But it was fun, and it was colorful, and it was exciting, and it was engaging. Whereas if you look at Teen Titans Go, all it is bright colors, fart joke, level humor, and like the substance is gone.
It's very much like what you were trying to say is like back in the day everything was accessible to everyone, like everyone could enjoy it. But this one's very much like this is made for kids in mind.
Right.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it just is a very different from what we grew up with.
Well, and I think we grew up with a lot of stuff where it was like made for kids but had adult stuff in it so that parents would watch it with their kids.
Yeah.
Because the idea was that you're doing it together. But nowadays the idea is that parents aren't really watching with their children. And so everything's so kid-like. And I feel like also part of it might be that, you know, especially the stuff that was going on with Nickelodeon that we'll talk about separately. You know, a lot of adult jokes that some people would put in were much more like inappropriate for children.
Yeah.
And so instead of just being like, let's not be inappropriate, they strip out all type of adult entertainment so that it's just like a dumbed down slapstick comedy.
Well, and that's the
type of
thing too,
thing.
because you could look at cartoons like Ren and Stimpy, and that was very much an adult cartoon. Like
That
that
was
was
very much
not a
an adult.
kid cartoon.
I never watched it.
But
It's very inappropriate.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not for kids. But you can look at something like Teen Titans, and there's stuff for adults there. Like, and I think that sometimes we conflate adult themes with being sexual, and I don't think that that's true. Like, you can just have more serious conversations, like more serious themes
Yeah.
about, you know, real world stuff. Like,
Because they
even
talk
just-
about trauma.
they talk about trauma, and they talk about like feeling different, feeling other than. Like, there's that quote where Raven's like, I don't really feel like I fit in here, and Cyborg's like, I'm half metal, he's green, and she's from space. What are you talking about? You know,
Yeah.
like that's funny, but that's also really inclusive and talking about inclusivity and stuff like that. And like, so you can have conversations like that for kids in a way that is digestible for kids, but also that resonates with adults without it being hypersexualized or whatever, and without it being so dumbed down to the point that there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are also super critical because they feel like when we were growing up, there was a lot of inclusive TV and stuff like that. There were always characters from different races.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Cyborg was black, and then
And
like
a robot.
Yeah.
and a robot.
Yeah.
And then like I mean, even with like the non-cartoon shows, there were always like people of other ethnicities, primarily as black and white.
Yeah.
I will
And
say
you're Asian.
Occasionally.
occasional Asian.
Yeah.
But
Occasional
nowadays,
Asians
anytime
are
there's like
really
inclusivity, especially like LGBT inclusion, everybody just snaps and goes, "Oh, this is just to be like
Different.
politically correct and like blah blah blah," but it's not like to tell the story. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like we didn't have to talk about it back then. People just included these characters, and it was like,
because
It's true because back in the day we had characters like him from Powerpuff Girls.
yeah,
The most androgynous like
drag queen.
drag queen character.
And you know what's funny?
And we thought nothing about it.
Exactly. Nobody commented on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't even.
It was
thing.
just
like,
a character
oh, that's
in
an
the
interesting
show.
Character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's him. Okay.
But nowadays people would look at that and be like, oh, they're trying to push an agenda, or
Right.
ooh, they're showing people of the LGBT community in a bad light,
Right.
making them as like the villains of a story.
Meanwhile, all of our Disney movies, the villains were gay coded.
They're all gay coded, yeah, to an extent. Yeah.
Hades, the most fabulous.
Scar, the other most fabulous,
Mm.
and all that stuff. And sure, that could be an under the radar kind of thing that they're probably putting in there, but I don't think that's what defines what they are as people or as
Right.
characters.
Right.
Well, and also, sassy villains are great.
That's the villains are great. That's what we grew up with.
Like, the heroes gotta be, like, nice and professional, but it was the villain who could be sassy, which comes out more
But I
like,
also feel like
yeah.
sassy doesn't have to be gay.
It doesn't.
no,
You
but
could just be sassy.
the guy who created those characters was gay.
Well, and that's fine, but I'm saying like it doesn't have to equate to that. But you're
No.
right. Some people would look at that and be like, "Oh, that's a gay character, it's
Yeah.
the villain," and it's like
And-
sometimes you don't have to look too deep into
Yeah,
things.
sometimes it's
not-
just the character.
yeah,
Which is like what you're saying, like back in the day, we didn't think about that stuff. That was just the character.
yeah.
That's all it was. And sure, it
Louise
could
was
have been,
fabulous.
sure, it could have been gay coded or whatever. There was an underlying message or whatever, but we didn't really think about that back in the day. It was just that's the character,
Yeah.
and that's what we exist.
Yeah.
And not to say that all the kid shows nowadays are not like thought provoking or whatever, because you have like more recent cartoon shows like Steven Universe, the big one that I can think of. That one's I feel like is
even
big.
then, that's not recent anymore. That was like 10 years ago or more,
Was it?
right?
I think
I feel like Steven Universe is not recent anymore.
Steven
Yeah.
Universe came out in 2013 and didn't finish until like 2019.
That's still 5 years ago when it ended.
5 years.
That's
yeah.
pretty long. You think of like all the shows that have come out since then.
Well.
Like, what are kids watching today on TV?
Bluey,
Bluey, yeah.
which
I know nothing about that.
I don't
which
know much on that, except it's Australian.
it is Australian, but even Bluey itself, it's made for toddlers and kids of a younger variety than 5 or under 5 or whatever.
Mm.
But those are shows that have the idea that there's going to be parents watching it at the same time. So they have stuff for parents as well. How like cartoons back in the day used to be for like 5 to 10-year-olds or whatever, and they had things for adults there. I think they've slowed it down and made it go back even further to like toddler ages
Did you?
because they have conversations in Bluey, and I know this because Bluey was all over my TikTok, and how they have episodes strictly like giving messages to like parents as well. There's like an episode where one of the mom is like feels inadequate and she feels like she's not a great mom, and then she gets told by another parent's like, "Hey, I've been a mom for so long and I got something to tell you." Looks directly at the camera. It's like talking to the audience like, "You're doing great. You're doing fine. Like, don't worry too much about it. You're
That's
you're
good.
fine."
And that's good. I've heard good things about Bluey.
You know that mobile app Cut the Rope?
Yeah.
No.
Well, you know that little green character guy? He has his own like kids TV show, 24 seasons.
What are you
Doing
talking about?
what?
I don't know.
Cutting
It's called Nom Nom.
What are you talking about? Can you show me it? Or it's not a
So
photo?
I moved on.
It's like a little. It's just like a little green little thing that like in the game there's like a rope and you have to like cut.
You cut the ropes to feed him the candy.
Yeah, but you have
Interesting.
they get more intricate and you have to do in like one swipe or whatever.
It's a puzzle.
It's
Interesting.
a puzzle type game. It's an old school like app game
It's like
that
Angry
you now
Birds
find at
Subway
Dave and
Surfer
Buster's
era.
because like all other app
Yeah.
games are now at Dave and Buster's.
Weird.
Which that's a whole other conversation we can have. The decline of arcades.
There is no arcades.
I went to a barcade in
They actually have machines.
Newhall that had.
Do we have barcades in Newhall?
Yeah, I didn't know, but it's kind of small. But it had like some old arcade cabinets and then like a bunch of pinball machines.
Yeah, we went to I forget what it was called, but for Kristen's birthday we went to like
Just wrap it up real quick so we can get back to conversation.
we went to we were doing like a bar crawl type thing.
Yeah.
But we went to this one arcade place that it's like an 8-bit arcade type thing, and they had like Marvel vs. Capcom, all these old consoles, and then they had another room with pinball machines. It's
Mhm.
cool.
We'll talk about that another day.
But yeah, no, I feel like a lot of kid shows like they've just gone back to like more of the toddler ages where they're have the parents in mind of giving messages.
Which is good, but I have opinions on kids' content though, and I want to voice them.
Okay, what are your
I
opinions?
am very much against this idea that if you make something for kids, it has to be shallow and have no substance to it. Because I've seen a lot of kid content, especially working at a kids museum, and the movies they would show in the movie theater was all garbage. It was garbage. It
What the
made
show?
just like, I mean, some of them were documentaries that were really cool, but like then they would show like these animated things, which basically they would just like cut up other like random kids movies that like nothing that you would have seen, right? Just like random like C tier crap,
Sure.
and just cut it up and then make a 20-minute thing out of it and throw it in the movie theater. But it's garbage. Like there's no substance to it. It's just like colors and like fart joke level humor, and like there's nothing to it. There's no story. Nothing makes sense. And it's like, oh, it's for kids, so it doesn't have to. And it's like, I hate that.
Yeah,
That's the dumbest thing ever. Like, you were dumbing kids down and being like, oh, because this thing's for kids, it doesn't have to have a story. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to have any substance. It just has to be colorful and be stupid and be silly, and then kids are going to love it. And it's like,
I think they're not giving kids credit.
No, they're not giving kids any credit.
Yeah.
And the infantilism, if you will, is ridiculous. Because just because something's for kids doesn't mean it has to be dumb. Like, give kids content, give kids stuff. Like, they're going to enjoy it. Yes, include colors. Yes, like, make it fun.
But you can still have a story behind it.
You can still have. It doesn't have to just be garbage. It doesn't have to be shallow. It doesn't have to just be superficial. Like, that's not fun for anybody to watch. No one's gonna leave that and be like, yeah, that was a great experience. They're gonna be like,
would you say like old kids, like the kids shows made specifically for learning are like that? Like Dora the Explorer. Is that dumbed down? But is that good for what it is supposed to be? Which is just learning, like, I don't even...
Spanish.
I guess Spanish, yeah.
I think
Soy Dora.
Like, Dora is fine because I don't think that there's still substance there, right? Like, there is a story each episode, right? There is a mission. There's something to complete. There's a pattern. It's about teaching kids, to look at your environments around you. Like, do you see where this is? It
right also here. Exposes kids to different cultures.
Yeah, like, I think that kind of, right? It's Americanized.
Huh?
What are you looking up on your phone?
Really?
Oh, okay. Just saw it, I was like, oh.
I was looking up TV show stuff.
Oh, okay.
I think that, and when it's made specifically for learning, that's a different avenue, right? That's not just like, let me cut up something and put it in front of a kid so that they're entertained.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we talk kid, what age are you primarily thinking?
For me, I think a kid is anywhere between 5 to like 10 would be like the oldest.
I'm gonna include younger than that too.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's top.
Because there's a lot of content that's made for young kids.
Who are developing.
Yeah, but like to me, it doesn't matter. Like, as soon, even when that kid's in the womb, like, they're absorbing. They're learning, they're growing, they're hearing, they're seeing, they're developing. And, like, if you're just going to feed that kid garbage with no substance, then that kid's not going to develop to their fullest extent. Like, that's why you need to talk to your kids. You need to read to your kids. They may not understand, but it doesn't matter, right? It's the equivalent of, like, if, oh, did you when you go to that? You talk to kids like that, then that's what they're going to receive. Instead of talking to them like a person, being like, hey, what do you want to eat today? Like, they can't respond to you, obviously, yet, when they're that young, but you're introducing them, and you're getting their brains thinking, and you're helping them develop their brains because you're giving them something to absorb. But if you're just letting them absorb trash, then that's what their brains are going to be. They're going to be trash. And I just think that it's so silly, this concept that, like, oh, you're a kid, you don't understand anything. Kids understand a lot. They're very smart. They're very observant. They're very absorbent, too.
I feel like the greatest, like, advocate for that is, like, kids understand stories because all I can think of is like, The Lion King. Mm-hmm. We all saw the scene, spoiler alert, I guess, but we all saw the scene where Simba's dad died, and being however old we were, like 5, 6, whatever, young, we understood exactly what was going on.
Exactly.
We understood, like, the weight that this scene was, and there was no reason to dumb it down. It was what it was. It was to the point, and you understood the emotion behind it. We all cried. Mm-hmm. And I feel like nowadays they don't do that.
They wouldn't do that. No.
It's just like, yeah, let me explain to you why this is how it is. Let me explain everything in every little detail.
Or they wouldn't even do it. It would be a fake out death, right? Like, they might have that scene, and then, like, 10 minutes later, oh, Mufasa comes around the corner and is like, oh, I'm not dead after all. It's like, oh, Dad, you're fine. And it's like, no, you just undercut the entire story. Because they're like, oh, well, we can't expose kids to that. Like, Why not?
Kids shows back in the day were hardcore. There's like an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog that revolves around like an abusive relationship between a bunny and a dog. It's crazy.
And I definitely think, right, like, there's an extent, right? Like, you don't have to expose kids to everything.
No, absolutely.
But what I'm saying is you don't have to dumb things down. You don't have to make them superficial and have no substance to them just because it's for kids.
I think the idea is you need to explain it to something, to a way that is appropriate to the kid.
Yeah.
You don't have to, like you said, you don't have to go into great detail about how something is because they don't fully understand it, which is fine. But just enough for them to understand that this is not a good thing or this is a good thing because that's how things are supposed to work out.
Right.
In a palpable way.
And for another example, right, we could look at Mulan, right? And that scene that popped in my head was like when they're all singing and having a great time and then they reach the top of the mountain, right? And it's just snow and you just see flags. And like they don't tell you explicitly like the entire army got wiped out. But you feel that sorrow and you know like, oh, something bad happened here, right? And like we didn't see it. And even with Mufasa, you don't see Mufasa die, but you see him fall off, and then you don't see him again.
And then you see
and there's
him.
a lot of it's like implied to an extent.
Yeah.
And I think that that's okay. But that exposure is fine because you're teaching kids, you're exposing them in a way that's appropriate to their age group.
Yeah.
But you're not just shielding everything and being like, oh, everything's fine. Don't worry about it, little Jimmy.
Everything's gonna be okay.
Because what are you teaching kids if everything's fine at the end of the day?
Yeah, I agree with that.
You're teaching them that everything's fine.
But it's not.
nothing
And
really
that's
matters.
okay. It's what do we do now then? Right? What does Simba do now?
Nothing matters.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
No, I hear you with that. Cartoons has definitely taken a turn. I think because everyone's so scared that they're going to be canceled for whatever reason for doing something different or whatever, that people are not taking as many risks with certain animations and whatnot, which, you know, is understandable. At the end of the day, you gotta pay the bills and you gotta do what you can to pay the bills. But, you know, there's also great value in the people who are able to stand up for what they want to portray in a show. And, you know, back in the day, a lot of things were okay to do because we didn't know any better for certain things. Sure, there was probably some stuff that we probably shouldn't have seen as kids in the kids' cartoons. I'm trying to think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a lot of sexual jokes in there that probably were for the adults right there.
I mean, not in cartoons, but yeah.
In cartoons, there were a lot of them.
Well,
You ever seen Animaniacs?
Yeah. Maniacs was great.
Yeah. They had a lot of adult jokes in there too.
yeah.
I think the most famous line was like they're like walking around a place and they're being detectives or whatever. It's like, okay, we need to find fingerprints. And then Doc comes out with prints, you know, formerly known as...
Oh, yeah, Prince.
It's like, here's prints. Like, no, fingerprints. And it's like, I'd rather not.
Oh, yeah. See, that joke would have gone over kids' heads, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did.
It did, yeah.
And the adults were like, it's inappropriate. But nowadays, you know, everyone's like very fine-tuned to the little details, and there's like, we can't do that because then they will know. It's like, no, maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Well, that's the thing, too, right? It's like, the kids are absorbent, like I've said, and they're very observant as well, but, like, they don't know a lot of stuff, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, like...
Yes and no.
Yes and no,
Yeah,
you know?
yes and no.
Why do you think a lot of people Google the jokes? if
Well,
they
that's the
don't get-
thing nowadays, too, is Google exists. We didn't have Google when we were kids.
Yeah.
We're not at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything's accessible to understand more. Which back in the day we had to do it by...
Or ask your parents and they'd be like, oh, yeah, it's
they
just
beat
this
around
sweetie.
the bush.
Yeah.
Yeah. God. A lot of cartoons back in the day also had a lot of... like him, you know, with the gay coded, transgender coded characters or whatever. Do you ever ask your parents like, oh,
Nope.
What is this parent?
Nope.
Because you didn't care, right?
It didn't. Yeah,
It
just
didn't seem to
faze
matter.
me.
Yeah, it was just
It
a
was
cartoon.
just a thing.
It was just the character on a
Yeah.
show.
Nowadays, I feel like a lot more kids would ask that question and then people would not answer them.
You know what I think the thing is though is just kids are on technology so much and they're on TikTok and they're on Instagram and they're all whatever that like they're exposed to so much more nowadays that I don't think that they would think to ask because they would probably just see it online or they would just Google it or they would just look at it and then start reading and stuff and
Do you
that's
think?
a whole other problem in and of itself.
Do you think kids nowadays watch as much cartoons as we did when we were younger?
No.
I don't
No?
think they watch a lot of TV at all.
I think they're on YouTube and TikTok.
That's what I.
That's
Yeah.
their main source.
Yep.
So whatever they're watching on there is whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think kids watch. Like, I think when you're below a certain age and your parents put an iPad in front of you and whatever, they are told kids like they put on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think
And
a lot of them go to like Netflix has like a kids section, but on Coco Melon.
Yeah. Or Paw
It's
Patrol.
just so creepy.
Coco Melon is creepy. I don't know if you ever seen it.
I have, yeah. Very creepy. Paw Patrol is pretty big with kids. They like that.
Yeah.
So they put on stuff like that, and then once you get to a certain age where you have your phone, which is kindergarten these days, and you can be on your phone, and it depends because right, some parents restrict it and whatever, and they have set times or whatever. But once you get to like 5th, 6th grade, junior high, like all they watch, I guarantee, is probably like TikTok, YouTube. And like maybe some
Whatever
shows
the
on
fingertips.
Netflix or whatever, but it's not kids shows. It's like Stranger Things or whatever.
Yeah. We're not in the.
We're not hip.
We're not hip. No, it's not that. But we're definitely in an age where we're kind of like, I feel like we're kind of pushing away from animated stuff. Like people like the idea of animation, but it's not something that they would consume.
I think people watch more anime than they
They do.
do like animated shows like in America or stuff like that. Like they're not. I don't think kids are really watching Cartoon Network anymore, or watching Disney Channel, or watching Nickelodeon. They're watching.
Well, because everything else is so much more accessible than it used to be.
Yeah.
Because like for us to get our anime, we had to watch Toonami.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now
Saturday
it's
nights.
accessible. Yeah.
Saturday nights. And
And
now you can watch it anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, and anime comes in all shapes and forms too.
Mm-hmm.
They're not afraid to dumb things down or make things very serious.
No, and the rating system in Japan is different than in
It's
America.
a problem with Americans.
A little bit with the rating system and how things are. I think we're hypersensitive to a lot of things that we could just let be.
Don't matter.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't need to be a political topic. It could just be. I was watching a very quick side tangent. I was watching Jane Animation, and she was talking about her trip to Japan.
Mhm.
And she was talking about how her guy friend went to go to the bathroom. He's like, yeah, sorry that... And he, like, came back, like, 10-ish minutes away. He's like, yeah, sorry that took so long. I was, like, had to walk for a hot second. There was just non-stop women bathrooms.
Hmm.
And she's like, that's so crazy. Because in America, like, women have to form a giant line just to get a bathroom. And
Yeah.
Japan hurts. The problem is like, oh, women have to wait in line. It's like, all right, we'll just make more bathrooms.
I mean, that makes sense. They're
And they're
problem solvers.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, that's so simple. And she's like, yeah, in America, that would be such like a political battle. I was like,
Yeah.
that's so sad because it's true.
Well, also, I mean, I don't know how far along Japan is with like the gender stuff, but also just like they could all just be like unisex bathrooms everywhere.
They're good, yeah.
People pee when they gotta pee.
People gotta pee.
People gotta pee.
But yeah, quick side
Everybody
tangent.
poops.
But the quick side tangent on that. But yeah. But then, no, I agree. And there is a lot of kids anime too.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Pokemon.
Pokemon. Oh my god. Can we talk about our old school, like, education to gaming shows? There's Pokemon that taught us how to play
Education
Pokemon.
to gaming.
Yu-Gi-Oh, who did
Yu-Gi-Oh.
not teach us how to play Yu-Gi-Oh
No,
at all.
told us
because
how to
the show
cheat.
is so different from the card game.
Showed us how to cheat in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Have you seen all those memes about the Pot of Greed now?
Yeah.
That's like the thing.
What?
So Pot of Greed, the card itself is you just draw 2 cards,
That's
right?
it.
But apparently, and I don't remember this, but apparently in the show it was used more loosely than that. So now people are just making jokes about pot of greed can do whatever you want it to do.
Yeah.
And so I saw this TikTok the other day. This
Guy had a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards in his hand, like that one like pile of cards. And he's like, "Pot of Greed. I play Pot of Greed, and I can draw as many cards as I want in my deck." And he took like half his deck and then added it to his heart. He's like, "I win, Yu-Gi boy."
Got Exodia.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and it's gone off the rails. But it was weird that like in the show the cards kind of did do whatever you wanted them
They
to.
really
They
did.
didn't really agree.
Yugi decided whatever the card wanted to do to benefit him.
It was for the heart of the card.
Yeah, the heart of the cards was him cheating.
Because I remember so many times like seeing the show and then seeing like, oh, you know, not even just Yugi, but like anybody would like draw a card and be like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool card, and then you get that card and you're like,
it doesn't.
it doesn't do what
any
it
of
said in the show
Yeah.
it did. Like, this is a totally different description on this card.
I think there's a guy who like watches all the Yu-Gi-Oh episodes, and he's very like he knows all about Yu-Gi-Oh. And it's like that's not how that works. That's not how that works. I don't know what the fuck Yugi's doing in this situation.
But I mean, it's the same with Pokemon too, right? Like Pokemon act differently.
Agility doesn't actually do damage.
Yeah, Pokemon.
Just-
Yeah, act,
Yeah.
yeah, no, call back. Pokemon act differently in the show than they do in the game, which makes sense, right? Because if you have a game, you have to have rules, and you have to have.
Balance.
Yeah, you can't just do whatever you want. But if you're making a TV show, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And I think
And
the TV
agility
show
can do damage.
for Pokemon, I think the TV show is more accurate to what it would be in real life.
To an
honestly.
extent.
Because
Yeah.
like you're not gonna have a Pokemon that can only know 4 moves.
No.
That's a
But I do love that in like the Pokemon anime they were like Pikachu's fighting like Brock's Onix or whatever, and you know, clear disadvantage
Oh, yeah.
for anyone who knows Pokemon.
yeah.
But he's like, okay, I'll set off the sprinklers and then I'll
That was
cause
such a
him
cop out.
I cause him to do electrocute and then he can beat him.
That was such a cop
It
out.
was so funny.
That was such a cop out.
And I remember
I'm still mad at that.
I remember watching that and be like, oh, that's so cool. I could probably do that in the game. No.
Where's the sprinkler so I can target that?
Yeah.
That's so dumb though.
It's so dumb, but at the same time, it was just so cool.
It's one of those of it's like, oh, how is this character gonna beat this antagonist that's really, really strong?
By
Cheating.
I'm also still just annoyed. Going back to agility.
Just
Never
talking
gonna
about
let
this
it
guy. Go.
Well, cause when we learned it, we were like, oh, this is so cool. Cause you learn it at like level 72 or 80, so
Yeah,
it's not like
really
you're.
late.
It's like a late move, so you're like, oh, I'm getting this super cool move. Like when Pikachu uses agility in the thing, it's more like a supered up quick attack.
Yeah.
And we used agility. We deleted like thunder or something like
actually.
strong. And then we went to a fight and we're like, Pikachu, use agility, and it's just like Pikachu speed rose. And we're like, what?
That's
Like,
it? It didn't do any damage?
what do you mean the other thing didn't die? Like,
This is a one-hit KO.
I also love how plain they explain things in the show too. Like there was that one scene where Brock's like explaining how extreme speed works. It's like, yeah, that's extreme speed. It causes the Pokemon to be extreme in their
To
speed.
move at extreme speed.
Yeah.
which is what we thought agility did.
Yeah, and I'm
That's
just
true.
like, oh, thank you.
That's
Brock.
why they added extreme
Yeah.
speed, because they're like, oh wow, we really trick people.
It's like, oh, thank you, Brock. I didn't know that. I couldn't tell that from the name of the movie.
Thunder makes thunder.
Yeah. I just love all those things. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! Too, you know, they're all making all these weird abilities that causes things. Like Yu-Gi is fighting some guy in like a dark forest, and he makes the field darkness, and then he uses light of whatever that one light.
Oh,
Card.
the swords
Swords of
light.
revealing light, yeah.
Swords of revealing light.
And it's like, yeah, with Swords of Revealing Light, it reveals the darkness from and then you can see everything now, so now you can attack. It's like, that's not how that works, Yugi.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
They were real liberal.
It makes sense.
It makes sense,
But it's
but
not
that's
what
not
the
what it
cards
does.
do.
Yeah,
Well, this is a dramatized version.
it's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
Which
you know
is
what?
fine.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I think that's fine too, because like I said, like if you're gonna have like a real game, you need to have real rules.
yeah,
And things need to do things that are predictable and understandable.
yeah. Clearly,
Instead of just, I can do whatever I want.
it's just so funny thinking
Pot
about
of greed, you lose!
Yeah. It's just so funny thinking about it nowadays, and you're just like, these don't do any of that.
Yeah.
They had like other shows too, like what are you doing?
I don't know. I'm ignoring him.
Like Beyblade.
Beyblade.
Beyblade was not like a big like kaiju versus kaiju battle.
Beyblade
It's
Battle
just
Brawlers.
They spin and then they hit each other.
You know what I saw though recently though? That's funny that you bring that up because somebody got like one of those Beyblade arenas and then like hooked it up somehow to like a battery and a light and then let two Beyblades use and the energy of them like spinning around and hitting each other like charged the light bulb. He's like, I have discovered perpetual energy. The future is powered by Beyblades. And like it was working. I'm like, that's impressive.
You need to turn on 3 light bulbs. You need to set 6 Beyblades.
Well, I don't know what the limit of 2 Beyblades are.
Infinite, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
We're all living in the future.
Yeah.
Future.
SpongeBob. The first like 6 seasons of SpongeBob, freaking classic, defined a generation.
It's
They did.
stupid, but it was fun.
But it was fun,
Fun.
yeah, and it wasn't like dumbed down, you know, like it was sarcastic sometimes, and it was funny, and it was kind of deep sometimes.
And it was also like a play on capitalist America with Mr. Krabs.
But it was also just funny.
Yeah. It did what it's and nowadays
You even
everything's-
had an adoptive whale daughter.
it
Well,
was
no, she was
very
adopted.
progressive.
Huh?
Was she adopted?
A crab doesn't make a whale.
We never saw what mom looks like.
That's fair.
Okay,
And we
but-
also don't know how genetics works in this universe.
That yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll give you
Well, but SpongeBob's family all look like sponges.
that. And Patrick's
Yeah.
family's all
Stars.
no.
I don't know.
I think
what
part of them is snail. They did a
What?
family tree line
Did
in one
they?
episode. It didn't make sense.
Is this like a newer SpongeBob?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's why.
Then it's not canon to me.
It doesn't exist in my head canon.
Anything after like 2010, I think was like the limit, and then anything after.
My canon ends after the Super Bowl episode.
That's
that was a
really
great one.
recent.
That-
Like
no, that
like
was really
early on.
Yeah.
not recent, early on.
But we got. I mean, that is one of the best episodes.
Or like
so.
the best day ever.
That's
That was like
2009.
29,
Yeah.
2008, 2009.
Yeah.
That was like 2006.
No.
Yes.
It was, I think
Was
it
that
was
elementary school?
It was elementary school because Michael Pizzo and I, shout out, annoyed Emily so hard because the 3 of us were assigned lunch duty.
Oh.
So we would walk
Oh,
to the
you're just singing
cafeteria
it.
and Michael and I would just sing that song and annoy the heck out of her.
That sounds right.
And
That sounds
it was a great time, huh?
That sounds like a headcanon.
Yeah. And that was like 5th or 6th grade.
Okay, I'll give you
So
that.
2005, 2006.
The first SpongeBob movie was great. That defined a generation.
That did.
With David Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff.
Who none of us understood why he was important.
No, I know,
None
but it was like
whatsoever.
talking like David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, I was like, sure,
Like,
this guy's
I
important.
don't know who he is. Yeah, that one was pretty good.
Then they made another one.
Goofy
Goober, Rock.
You guys
Or when they showed up Rock.
Yeah,
It's so funny. It's so stupid, but it's so funny.
It was
Rock!
perfect. It was perfect for what it is. And Patrick comes in and
The
those giant
he's giant.
skills,
You
stilettos.
see, people would get so mad at that nowadays.
would.
They would.
And
Meanwhile,
we
we're
just
like,
laugh. We just like
that's
so
hilarious.
funny.
It's
Yeah.
so random.
Or like, which cartoon character always dresses up as women?
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that was just normal.
It really was. There was this one time I was in music class because it was like the end of the year, so no one's playing music, obviously.
Sure.
So we're just watching like whatever we want on that the teachers decides to put on. And my teacher at the time, I think his name was Mr. Harwell. He had like this goatee and he was bald. He was white. And then
Because that was also important.
I just wanted to give it a third thing. And then he loved the Looney Tunes. He that was like his favorite thing growing up.
I
And
love the Looney Tunes.
he showed us Looney Tunes. And, you know, we're 90s kids or whatever, so we also got a hit of that too. So we're like, oh, hell yeah, we'll watch some Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes are great.
It's great.
Classics.
Yeah, some of the newer ones not as great. Some of them are good.
If
Some of
it's
them are not.
new, it's not.
Oh, after like 2010, I don't.
But there was just an episode where we were watching, and he was like, yeah, it was always funny because you can always tell it's gonna be a good episode when Bugs Bunny goes in dressing up as a woman, and he does that often. It's like, and then we're like, he doesn't dress up as a woman often, and sure enough, here comes Bugs Bunny on a giant fat horse. He's like Viking helmet, wearing the pigtails, giant breastplates, and it's like, dun, dun, and like, all right, can't even argue that. Like, just came in.
That made me think of the scene from Robots where
Robin
Fender,
Williams.
Bender. Okay, go on.
yeah, the Robin Williams character had the Viking helmet with the pigtails,
Yeah.
and the
It's
breastplate and
iconic.
everything,
And
and,
then
hit me baby one more time.
Yeah.
Which makes absolutely no sense.
No, but it
you're
was-
like, this is great.
Cinematic beauty.
It was, absolutely. Also doesn't make sense. Maybe a lot of kids shows back in the day weren't that sophisticated.
They weren't,
Maybe
but they were
weren't.
hilarious.
But there is still a difference though, right? To, like cartoons today and shows today, like it's a different kind of dumb humor. You
Sure.
know? It's like softer.
But the more we talk about it, the more I'm realizing like was that universally better, or is it just like more of like that was our generation, so we find more.
That's why I'm like, I don't have a lot to talk about because I can't really accurately compare because
That's
first
true,
of all,
I
I'm not a kid anymore, and second
Yeah.
of all, that's not programming I watch.
It's true.
I just know that the kids show I have seen, they feel different.
Like-
there is a shallowness to them and a softness to them that, because you can have dumb stuff like in Robots or whatever, but there is still a message in that story. Like, and I think maybe that's the difference. Is you can have stupid scenes, you can have stupid jokes, and that's fine. But if the whole thing is stupid, right? If the whole thing has no substance.
If
Once
it's
you got
all
too
dumb.
stupid.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing, right? If there's nothing there to begin with, then that's
It may
shallow.
be stupid, but it's also dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that's the difference, because I think a lot of what we grew up with, there was substance there. It was intercut by a lot of stupid for funny's sake, but there was
But it
something
wasn't
there.
No, but
You know what I'm
I
saying?
hear what you're saying. It's
You
It has
just
a-
makes dumb jokes.
it has
You
a
get what I'm
point to
saying?
get across, and it has jokes that are great, but they don't take you out of the situation.
Right.
And you're still able to hold into like what the story is basically about.
Well, and you can appreciate
Virgin
the
Group
silly
did that.
humor.
Yeah.
But it's not all silly humor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not all that.
Oh,
There's more to it, and then you have those as the comedy, which is fine. But it's not. You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
No, I'm hearing you, I'm seeing you, and I understand you.
And you're valid.
Ian, do you understand what I'm saying? Or
I
are you just here to
understand.
make weird side comments?
No, I understand what you're saying.
He can do both.
Okay.
There's no reason why he can't do
Yeah,
both.
porque no las dos.
Anyways,
I think that's the difference.
sure.
But I think until we're like parents and we have children, so we're actually watching these shows, that we don't know what's happening.
Then in 20 years, we'll come back and we'll do another one.
It's gonna take 20 years to have a child.
Yeah, the rate I'm going, yeah.
The rear we're going. We're both men. Well, last week,
Yeah, so you adopt a child that's already aged.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Skip the whole child years.
Yeah, that's the worst. I want to skip the teenage phase.
I want to adopt
I just
18-year-olds.
want a 21-year-old.
I just want to have a person there be like, yo, your family.
When you're here, you're
I was
family.
gonna say that too, but you beat me to it. I started yawning.
I heard that. But, no, but yeah, no, I hear you.
Now we're all tired.
We are outside.
We've been retired.
But I hear you though. Maybe it's just like we don't understand the newer generations of humor.
Maybe. I
Maybe.
think that's possible. I also think it's possible that you have a bunch of adults who are, you know, like the producers and the executives who are demanding that things are done a particular way and they don't know how to do things because they're doing what they think people want, not what people want.
I do think we grew up in like the golden era of like kids TV.
I agree.
I agree. Our TVs were so inclusive with everything.
Well, just the shows were good. Like, there's no Samurai Jack out there today.
As far as we're aware of, yeah.
You know? I think we would have heard about it.
Probably.
With how...
I mean, now the biggest things are like Bluey and Peppa Pig.
Yeah.
Is Peppa Pig still a thing?
As of a few years ago, it was.
Dang.
I don't know if it
I
was
only
that.
remember Peppa Pigs from last week when we were at Red Robin's.
Oh, yeah, and there's the Peppa
There
Pig.
was the Peppa Pig.
Next
There
to
was
Mario,
random-
Luigi, Peach, and Peppa Pig.
Yeah, we were at Red Robin's and there was just on top of the little R, there was just like a bunch of little amiibos or whatever, and Peppa Pig.
Yeah. I don't know, but
Yeah, you know, the 4 main Mario characters.
Yeah, obviously.
I always play as Peppa Pig. Now that's a mod.
That's a mod right there.
They just felt like they couldn't put Birdo up there, so they put Peppa Pig.
Yeah, they found another pink thing.
Yeah.
Don't you disgrace Birdo. I mean, Birdo's also like a
A drag queen.
trans icon.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that was intentional from the beginning, or is that something that has been taken
It's been taken.
posthumously? So to
Originally,
speak?
Berta was just supposed to be a woman, and then eventually they announced like, no, it's actually trans, and that's like recent, like
Oh,
the
is
last 10 years. But yeah,
Birdo was always so weird. I remember playing like Super Mario Advance where Birdo first appeared.
And there's just this thing shooting eggs at you.
yeah, and you're like, what is? And it's just not explained.
Not
But
explained.
also, Super Mario Advance was just a weird game in general because it wasn't a Mario game at first.
no,
It was a different game that they then reskinned as a Mario game,
Yeah.
and so which is cool, and I think it's a really fun and interesting game. But it's just so different from every other Mario game you'll ever play.
This is Birdo, known in Japanese as Catherine.
a woman,
Catherine, yeah, it's a female name.
a sensual woman.
Sure.
And Birdo's romantically involved with Yoshi.
Ooh.
Bullshit.
That's what it.
What are you reading? Wikipedia?
That's what it
The
says.
Nintendo Wiki. Does the big Nintendo guy say that it's so?
Her first appearance was as an enemy in Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic, which was localized for English language audiences as Super Mario Bros. 2.
We know Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Do you think we can take like a Nintendo quiz? Who would do the best out of all three of us?
Oh, like who knows Nintendo the best?
Yeah.
I would vote on you, honestly, Josh.
Really? I would give it to you.
And I
Me?
don't think
I don't
Ian
play
knows
as
a
much
lot about
Nintendo games.
Okay. Well,
I would give it to you.
okay.
We should do it. Let's find one.
We'll do a
Maybe,
Nintendo
maybe
quiz.
next episode we'll just do a bunch of quizzes.
Yeah, see who
More
knows.
trivia, but
Who
like,
knows the most of Nintendo? Who knows the most
The
about
manual for
anime.
Super Mario
Anime.
Bros.
Me.
2.
Yeah.
So this is Super Mario Bros. 2, the original game Birdo is in.
yeah.
The manual describes Birdo as a man who thinks he is a girl and would prefer to be called Birdetta. This led to Birdo being interpreted as transgender, which would make her the first transgender video game character. Later,
What an icon.
later releases of Super Mario Bros. 2 removed all mentions of the favored nickname. Starting with Mario Tennis, Nintendo has generally avoided her transgender roots. However, some games such as Captain Rainbow and the Super Smash Bros. Series deal with her gender. Birdo is also depicted as being in a romantically involved relationship with Yoshi. She has received mostly positive reception in the Mario series, although her appearance and perceived gender identity have received mixed reception.
Sure, nowadays people care too much.
Yeah.
Birdo's just Birdo. He's no she's no Monty Mole.
Yeah.
Love Monty Mole.
Never be a Monty Mole.
Monty Mole's my
I
guy.
love Birdo.
That's great. Birdo's cool. She's a little weirdo. She
He
doesn't
is.
like that.
Alright. You guys have anything else to talk about?
No,
Animation?
I think I'm
cartoons?
okay. I said my piece, kind of.
Alright.
I'm not as eloquent today as normal.
It's okay. It's a slowish day, but alright. That looks to be the end of this episode. Thank you
I
guys.
also don't think I've looked at the camera once.
We're gonna figure out this bean situation.
Green.
Oh my god, what fell from on top? An orange.
Pink.
Green and pink. I'll do yellow.
What'd you
Is
choose?
there pink in there?
Yellow.
There should be.
Yeah. There's yellow right there, there.
No, I said pink.
Oh, pink. There's one right there, right there.
Okay.
There might be red. Because I'm colorblind.
Yeah. Yep.
Prove it.
Did Mom even buy Starburst Easter jelly beans?
I don't know.
You're just really struggling with that one. What the fuck is falling? I'm laying eggs, guys.
Birdo?
Oh, it's a green and orange one, apparently.
He's Birdetta.
Alright, we got yellow, orange, red.
These look pink to me and those look green to me.
This looks pink to you?
No, these two.
Oh, okay, I
Two,
was
two
saying.
pink, two green, and two yellow. So,
So
go
we're all
again.
tied. Go again.
Like, honestly, all the time.
honestly, all tied.
Stop eating the sample.
I didn't eat anything.
You're going to.
You saw me grab nothing.
I'm trust you in the slightest.
Junior slyness.
Oh my god, Ian.
You got it.
It's in my toes.
Yeah, you got it. Alright, we got a yellow, an orange, or pink. I don't know what those
Two
are.
pink.
2 pink, 2 green. Well, what's that one?
That's red.
That's
All
red,
right.
yeah.
So 2 pink, 2 green. Okay, go again. Still tied. You can have it. I don't want it.
There's like that spark, you know?
Alright, what do we got?
A
Green.
lot of green.
3 green.
All right. I guess I
Greens
win
take
then.
it.
Alright. So, we have Ryan as...
Is that a question?
Maybe.
were you green?
That was green, yeah.
Okay. We have Ryan as the head honcho of next week's episode. And we'll see what he's going to talk about next week. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. It's been great. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.